Welcome in to Moving the Chains, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. I'm Kevin Thomas alongside Jerel Hendricks. Got a great interview lineup today, a very special guest, the new head coach of the May River Sharks, Richard Bonneville. Coach, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, guys. I do want to say thank you very much for doing this for high school football. There are so many limited access points, and y'all coming on the scene is huge for these guys.
Well, we appreciate that. We appreciate your time. We really do. If this is you guys' first time tuning in, check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, etc. at Movin Chains. Also, our website, movinchains.com. That's movinchains.com. And our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Coach Bonneville was hired in February. He's been the offensive coordinator and offensive line coach for May River for the past 7 seasons. Prior to that, he's coached at Camden, Westwood, Richland Northeast, and North Augusta. Coach, let's just start there. What's it been like going from an assistant at May River for the past 7 years to being the head man now finally there for the Sharks?
I wish I was younger and didn't know what I was getting into. Being an older guy taking over, you kind of realize what you're signing up for. But I had no idea. I just remember always telling Coach Summers all the time, man, I don't want your job. And it's multifaceted. Let's just say that.
So, Coach Bonneville, we had Kevin go through a little bit of your previous history with your stops across the state. But if you don't mind giving us some background information on your coaching career and how you got started.
Well, my dad was my head coach at Spring Valley High School. And Spring Valley has a strong tradition of good football. And I was lucky enough to go play at the Citadel. When I left the Citadel, I was actually fortunate enough to get on at Irma High School with Bob Hanna. Bob Hanna was one of the greats from North Carolina that moved down here, and he gave me a shot. And I got to work and I found out in 1998 that it was much easier to be a player than it was a coach, because when practice was over, you got to go home. When you're a coach, you still sit up there and grind it out. So I got really lucky working with a defensive coordinator named Bob Stillwell at Irmo. I only worked there 1 year. I was kind of waiting on my certification type year. Then I went to North Augusta, got married, went to North Augusta with my wife. We kind of wanted to get back closer to home after about 2 years down there. Moved to Camden and worked for Jimmy Neal at Camden. We won one state championship. Then we played for another state championship, won a bunch of region titles there. And Coach Neal, being from Furman University, really taught me what football was all about. At Camden High School, I learned how to work, learned football from him, and Ron Duncan and the rest of the staff at Camden High School during those 2001, 2005 years. Then I moved over to Richland Northeast with Coach Jay Fry, who was a phenomenal head coach at Richland Northeast. There where I hooked up with Coach Summers, who was the offensive coordinator there. He got the Westwood job, offered me to be the offensive coordinator. I went with him and Coach Pelham at White Knoll. We went over there, and then we used to always vacation down here at Hilton Head, and I realized that we were never going to have enough money to retire in Hilton Head, so we might as well work down there. And when May River job came open, we pushed Coach Summers to put in for that, and he got it. He was fortunate enough, and he's done a heck of a job. And I really appreciate him taking me with him. And he and I had been together since 2005. That's 18 years.
Wow. Well, that's awesome. So you obviously mentioned Coach Summers taking over for him there. You guys have been together forever. Have you started to maybe lean on him a little bit with some questions, or is that going to come more as the season, you think, goes?
He always gives a good little giggle to me. he'll send me an email and go, "Oh yeah, I forgot about this invoice. You need to pay this." And "Oh yeah, here you got this. I hope you're having fun." It's Coach Summers has been a wealth of knowledge. Um, Somebody that I can ask about ordering stuff, how he handled this situation, how he handled that situation.
A lot of times you see, young coaches, they're chomping at the bit to get that head coaching opportunity. What's it like, and can you offer some perspective of, getting this opportunity to be the head man at this stage in your career?
You know, there were a lot of times I put in for some head jobs when I was a young guy and thought that I was ready to be a head coach. Um, and realized now, being an older guy, I wasn't ready to be a head coach of anything. Um, I've interviewed for the Blythewood job when it first came open. I've interviewed for the Spring Valley job at one point. I was in line to maybe take the Andrew Jackson job at one point early in my career. That kind of would have been a stepping stone. Um, but all those things just never felt right. And there was no chance of me being prepared to be a Blythewood head coach or a Spring Valley head coach in my late 20s, early 30s. And being an older coach, the as I said before, the problem I see is just knowing too much. Some of those young guys can come in there and be oblivious to things, and it allows them to be a little bit more cavalier at their approach. Being older has its drawbacks because maybe I'm not as cavalier or charge headlong into something. And sometimes I'm like, dang it, if I was a younger man, I wouldn't even be worried about that. I'd just be doing it. And with age comes a little bit of wisdom. I'm not there, but um, it's definitely I'm excited. My son goes to May River. I want to make May River my last stop in my coaching career and my teaching career.
So, Coach, how is the staff shaping up? Do you guys have everybody in place? You're still hiring a few guys here and there.
Man, we are trying to hire guys. Of course, we're in that same situation everybody else is. We're waiting on what's going to be available, throwing feelers out, trying to get guys to, buy in and say, hey, well, we want to come down to May River and not really have anything until it all shakes loose. And we got some great guys on staff. Our defensive coordinator last year, Al Schmidt, who is now our head baseball coach, kind of said, "Hey, listen, I want to make the decision of, letting one of our younger guys do it. He's got children at our school. He wants to kind of take a step back, let some of these young guys. He's a great mentor guy that I'll be leaning on. But I've got two brothers who are the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. They're going to be fantastic. They're already fantastic coaches, but they've got a bright future. And my right hand man, Ashley Powell, who everybody knows in the PD all over across the state. He's a great wrestling coach, great defensive back, great PE teacher, but better person on my staff. And I'm really happy with the way it's shaping up. We needed 3 or 4 guys, and I'll feel really good.
You guys got some changes going on with the staff, obviously with you taking over. Do you plan on, changing your offense and defensive styles? What do you plan on running there? And then with your offensive background, will you continue to call plays?
I think one of the things that I've been learning is that one of the kids that I coached a long time ago at Camden is now the offensive line coach at Clemson, Thomas Austin. He and I we talk about every other week or so, and I got to watch him get married, and we're really close. And one of the things that he said to me just the other day was when he went to Georgia State with Sean Elliott, that Coach Elliott was the offensive line coach there. And Coach Elliott, you know, it's really hard to coach that position that your head coach is over. And he said one of the best things that Coach Elliott did was just let him coach. And, you know, that's what I want to do with my guys. Is Coach Summers was so good to me as the offensive coordinator and very rarely ever buzzed in or overrode something that I called. And so I want to have the same relationship. Let these young guys call their plays. If there's something that I want to be run, you know, I hope that they'll do it. I've got a lot of people to kind of try to shape my philosophy, and I think, you know, these guys have proven that they're ready. And like I said, I've got Al Schmidt and Ashley Powell there to help these young guys take over and call the games.
And if you don't mind, without giving too much away, schematically, what do you guys plan to feature on offense?
You know, one of the things that we pride ourselves down here is we were a big 13 personnel team. We had 3 tight ends. We're trying to smash you. You know, we weren't really an elusive passing team, but we could RPO you and do all kinds of neat things with our blocking schemes and our reads and stuff like that. You know, that's the only thing that I probably said to Coach Dyer is that, you know, I still want our identity to be a smash, you know, smash people, let them know that you've been in a football game, whether we get beat, they know that they've had to play defense. But however he wants to do that is fine with me. If he doesn't want to be 13 personnel, if he wants to be 10, if he wants to be 12, I still, you know, Sean Elliott, when he was at App State, said you can run inside zone and beat people up with it. You don't have to be a gap scheme team to beat people up. You know, you can run inside zone and beat people up. So if that's what Coach Dyer wants to do, let's try to beat them up.
You've been around a lot of great coaches across the state. You know, are there any in particular you think that really you kind of model your style after? And then even on top of that, are there any guys maybe at the college level that you like to watch and kind of take some things from them as well?
You know, like I said, I've been leaning on one of my past players a lot, Coach Austin at Clemson. Coach Elliott and I played against each other when I was at Spring Valley, he was at Camden, and when I was at the Citadel and he was at App State. And so I've been able to go up there and talk with him and meet with him. I've met with him at Georgia State. You know, I just want to try to do things right, the right way, you know, and I try to take a little bit of influence from all the guys. Coach Joe Long at North Augusta was a fantastic head coach. Coach Neal, as I said, really taught me how to break down a game, how to set up a practice, really run it like college level style. Coach Fry taught me all about recruiting. You know, he had some great recruits coming out of Richland Northeast. Coach Summers, his organization and his work ethic are second to none. And I hope all the good things that those guys did and showed me show up in what we're doing. And, you know, I hate to say I want to model myself after Nick Saban, but his philosophy of doing it the right way, having a standard, you know, confronting the kids when they're not doing what their responsibility, hold them accountable over and over again is kind of, I want to be more of a, you know, this is the right way to do something. There are two ways to do it. We say the right way and the other way, and we're trying to really hammer that home with our guys. Let's do it the right way, not the other way.
You have the unique advantage of being promoted from within. Therefore, you know your team. You're familiar with your team. What kind of team do you guys have in back, and who are some special players that we should be looking out for?
You know, we've got some. We got to do some March work open season. We were able to cobble together some dates for us to practice, and man, you stand out there and you go, oh, we can win some football games with these guys. You know, we're excited about some guys that maybe haven't even started a Friday night, but they are bought in. They're on the bus. You know, they're runners on our bus, and you know, a kid like Adrian Gaston, our nose tackle. We call him Santa because during COVID, Coach Summers would always say, hey, there's this kid, Adrian Gaston's going to come out. And we're like, well, I've never seen him. Just like Santa Claus, never seen him. He's like the Easter Bunny. And Santa's kind of stuck with him. Adrian Gaston's a fantastic nose for us in our 3-4. I expect big things from him this year. We got our returning quarterback. It'll be his second year, Tanner Macy. He'll do a great job. Like I said, I'm excited about kids like a Will Boswick. You know, there's of course guys I'm going to leave out. One of the kids that I'm really happy about on our defense is Ethan Sprinkle. I mean, he's a 6'2", 6'3", 200-pound rising junior who got a lot of experience last year. We have a returning center who's a all-region guy who wrestled for us at 220 named Will Morrow. He's our returning center. We got Gage Duncan. It's the list goes on and on. And the thing about these guys is when we line up, and I'm sure anybody that's played us, when we line up against the other team, if you just go on looks, we're not looking like we're going to compete. But these guys are hard workers, and that's an attribute to Coach Summers teaching that work ethic and just fighting.
Coach, I want to ask you about recruiting a little bit. I know you mentioned learning about that in your previous days, and you know, with it being so hard these days with the transfer portal and all that stuff to get kids into colleges, how important is it to build those relationships with recruiters and just kind of keep them, you know, in front of your kids, keep your kids in front of them throughout the year?
One of the big things that I'm going to lean on is, you know, a guy like Coach Austin, who is friends and colleagues with a lot of the lower division, subdivision guys. Coach Elliott, Coach Stepp, who was at Lexington, a guy named Coach Gasparotto, Greg Gasparotto, coached with me at Richland Northeast, who's now the defensive coordinator at Troy. You know, these guys are calling me. Who do we got? Who's showing out in the weight room? I think that's one of the big things now. Is we got to convey to these guys that the weight room is they're asking about weight room now. You know, the college really shapes what we look at. A lot of kids right now are trying to Twitter past the process is what we call it. They're trying to put as many things out on Twitter without actually doing the work that's required. And they think that the colleges aren't going to ask about the grades, the behavior, the work ethic in the weight room. And that getting the kids and the kids' parents past that learning curve is extremely difficult. Like you said, with the transfer portal, you know, it's trickled down into high school. I'm sure you've heard that from some other guys that, it's really difficult these days when what they see on a daily basis is, I think our South Carolina high school league says as long as you move, as long as you stay, establish eligibility somewhere, you get to go there. And man, so you try to do the right thing. You try to hope that you get the guys who are want to be on your bus, stay on your bus, and the guys that want to walk or ride, they can find another bus to ride on.
Coach, you spent the majority of your career in the Midlands, coaching there, and then made the move down to May River. Historically, you've had some great programs like Somerville and Fort Dorchester and things like that. But as a whole, kind of seen the Low Country explode in football, the emergence of Beaufort and these other teams like James Island on different levels. What do you attribute, this more competitive nature in the lower state or in the Low Country specifically to in football?
Oh man, that's a great question. When we left Westwood, you had to bring it every Friday night. You were coaching against, Kyle Richardson up at Northwestern, who's at Clemson now. You're coaching against Coach Stepp, who's at Louisville. You didn't get to just roll up into a place and have better personnel and just go beat somebody. That could happen every now and then, but I mean, we played Keenan, and they gave us everything we wanted when we were at Westwood. There was no give me games. So when we moved down here, we brought that attitude, and we got our face beat in for the first couple of years. I mean, I got beat. I've been a part of a 77-3 loss. I've been part of a 69-0 loss. But we just kept saying, we're going to keep doing what we do. When Coach Knotts came into Dutch Fork, when we were all at Richland Northeast, he really elevated what our requirements were. It used to be you had to work 2 weeks in the weight room as a coach, and now it's completely reversed. In the summer, you work every week in the weight room and out at practice, and you get 2 weeks off, and that's it. Coach Knotts really elevated the requirements, and I think Coach Summers did a good job of bringing that down. I mean, Beaufort was already playing some good football. Bluffton had been in the state championship. Hilton Head has a long history of being really good. And now, Beaufort has some unbelievable coaching and some unbelievable players. Every time we play them, they beat us by 6 this year. We somehow lucked up and beat them the year before, and they played for a state championship. I mean, Coach Libran, Coach Payne, Coach Gregory at Bluffton, all these coaches, Coach Hatcher at Whale Branch, Coach Kinlock at Colleton County. And I tell you what, those guys at James Island are playing some football. They are physical. They remind me of May River, and they are big and they are strong and they have bad intentions. They are that coach McCoy.
Yep, Coach McCoy
moved from North Carolina, and we knew we played them in COVID year, and we had a great quarterback, and it was tough to move the football on them. And I just told him the other day at a combine, I was like, God almighty, you boys can play some football. It's unbelievable.
Take your financial game to the next level with Founders Federal Credit Union. Reach your full potential. Relax. Join Founders today. Visit an office near you or relaxjoinfounders.com to apply. Federally insured by NCUA, member qualification required.
Well, Coach, got a couple easier ones here for you before I let you go. So, like you mentioned, you went to Spring Valley High School, got to play for your dad, who was the head coach, and now you get to coach your son at May River. Can you elaborate on just kind of how cool that was to play for your dad, and then how neat it is to get to do something similar with your son?
Yeah, my my dad, I looked up to him. I told him he was down here last week or this weekend and said, "Man, I really put a lot on this head coaching thing. I thought you were the man." I was like, "I realized that you were just struggling to hang on." And but it meant a lot to play for him. I got to coach my oldest son at May River. He's at the Citadel playing football. And now being the head coach with my youngest son here really means a lot. But, it is hard these days. You don't ever want to show favoritism to them. You want to make sure everybody knows you're not showing favoritism to them. And sometimes you go the opposite way. And I've been very lucky to watch both my boys play football, watch them grow. I expect my youngest son to be a contributor this year. He played last year as a sophomore, wasn't very good. And then this year he's gotten big and strong and fast. And I expect him to not have to be taught to be coached very much this year. Got other problems.
So, Coach, it's a staple moving the chains question. We're riding down there for a game to the Bluffton area. You got to throw out a couple restaurants that we should check out. Some of your
God. Okay, Cahill's in Bluffton. You bring your wallet, but it's worth every penny. It's Southern cooking. Bluffton barbecue. My God, delicious. Let's see. Where was some other staples? Oh, Sunset Pizza, Okatee Ale House. Man, y'all, all y'all can see is my head, but I'm a portly fella. I'm about 6'3", 265 pounds. We enjoy eating. That's a great question because, man, I'll tell you a quick story. I know I'm long-winded. My coaches tell me that already, so I got to work on it. I meant to tell y'all that.
Oh, you're great, Coach.
We're enjoying it. You're good to go.
we with the new football fandangled, the sideline videos and stuff like that, and you get set up on the sideline. Well, we have a team when we at May River. We call it Fat Team 6, which stands for Forward Advancement Team. But the main reason all the coaches want to get on the Forward Advancement Team is so that if we go play Colleton, they could go eat at Duke's Barbecue.
That's right.
If you play Lake City, they want to go to the schoolhouse.
Yep.
So y'all are a notch up even more asking where to eat. Okay, because that's our big thing.
I love it. Well, Coach, obviously, I'm sure you're swamped, with new head coaching duties, but it is getting warmer out there. So, how's the golf game looking? You getting out of the course much this time of year? Man,
I love golf, and we like to say we found a deal out there on Hilton Head Island. I'm a member of a country club. Now I'm on the practice and play plan that they don't give you the tee time till about 5 o'clock. Give you about an hour out there, charge you $30, but I get to tell everybody, well, I'm going to go play my home club today. I'm going to the country club. I don't tell them I'm on the practice and play plan that doesn't get me anything other than I can drive onto the course.
I got one more for you, Coach. With your experience, we have to ask, you've coached and played all over the state. What are some of the coolest and maybe some of the coolest and the toughest environment that you've had to play on a Friday night? Or
I'll
coach?
tell you, man, toughest place I've ever coached and played at is Dillon, South Carolina. We were
White
really
walls.
we were really good in 2018. Went up there and played them, and they just shellacked us. They had the fireworks going off. The visitor side, the press box was condemned. Basically, you had to hop over a broken step, or you were going to fall through the stadium. It was freezing. It was that was the like toughest environment because man, they did it old school. The home side would come over and sit on the visitor side and just trash talk you. It was awesome. It was so good. Those guys really they have it rolling in Dillon. I know that.
Dillon's a tough place to play over there in the playoffs, especially. But I do want to talk about that 2001 Camden team. That's an all-time great team. Guys like Eric McCollum, Kelvin Grant, Marcus Brown, Bruce Lee. I think you guys won state, I think, in overtime on a field goal. I think
Bruce Lee. Yeah.
Lee had a tackle at the 5 to force overtime, I believe, something like that. I mean,
man,
what do you remember about that season and that game? I mean, that's a great team, great season.
That was my first year at Camden, and man, the coaching staff from top to bottom was absolutely dynamite. So Ron Duncan, who's the head coach at Screbbins County, Denny Beckley, who's the baseball coach, been there forever. Joe Blackwell, who's coached at SC State college coaches. It was so awesome. I'd never worked that hard in my life. Those guys were talented, but they were well prepared. Everybody forgets, and if you don't know anything about that year, we had the Miracle on Broad to get there. Wilson Lawrence Timmons had intercepted a sprint out screen throwback. He picked that off and ran it in for a touchdown. They were winning with 8 seconds left in the game. They kick off to Kelvin Grant, and the ball goes out of bounds. So they put the 8 seconds back on. They kick off to him again. Returns it for 88 yards to win, to move on through the playoffs. And it, we beat a Dillon team that year, a Newberry, really good Newberry team that year. And then for that kid to roll out, we think they're running the clock out in the state championship game. Union, he rolls out and unleashes one of the most beautiful passes that I've ever seen. Thought he was running timeout. He throws that ball. Their receiver catches it, and Bruce Lee, who played at Western Carolina, ankle tackles him at the 5. They get the ball, or we defer. They get the ball. They miss a field goal. Coach Neal lines up, kicks a field goal. Golden Shoes, Jake Broom. He's probably 30-something years old. I'll never forget him. Jake Broom kicking that. That was exciting. And then Union wore our tails out the next year for that crap. I mean, wore us out 63 to something in that game. I've been to 3 state championship games. Won one, got drummed by Union in the second one again when I was at Camden. And then we had the pleasure of at Northeast playing Willie Korn.
That 05 team.
Yeah, Princeton Shepherd, Matt Quinn. And they just beat us like they stole something. Bentley was kicking onside kicks, and it was a thrash. And so, all our coaches, the great thing about it was that all our coaches were kind of freaking out at halftime at Richland Northeast. They're like, what do we yeah, we got to get this going. Luckily I'd been beat 63-27 by Union. So I was like, guys, we're just going to let this thing happen. There ain't really anything we can do. So just stop fighting it and just let them finish, like they say in Christmas Vacation. Just, if he gets on you, just let it finish. And that's what we had to do with that Burns team, is just take that tail whooping and let's regroup next year.
So those are some great stories, Coach. As we wrap this thing up, go back to those May River Sharks. What are some of your goals for this 2023 season?
I want to make sure that we are getting mentally, emotionally, and physically tougher in these times. I want to make sure that we're all on the bus running together. I want to make sure that we do right by our kids. This is a special platform that I have. I'll make sure that I'm leading by example. Always as an offensive coordinator, I kind of be a little bit more aggressive, or and understand that there's got to be controlled leadership. I want to make sure we do a good job of promoting our kids, keeping them out on Twitter. Not Twitter past the process, but I want to show our kids working, in the weight room and doing things out in the community, helping with Special Olympics, teaching them, stuff that's beyond football, because man, football can be over for a majority of them after 4 years, and the lucky ones get to go to the next, and then it's probably over for them there. And those things that you learn in high school football are really important. And I think I want to be a part of that and make these kids love high school football as much as I loved it when I played for my dad. And that's my goal.
Well, this has been great. Definitely want all of our viewers to go check out Coach Bonneville in the May River program on Twitter and Facebook, and check out their kids, their highlights, their scheduling. Yes, definitely go follow them on there. Like I mentioned, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, etc. at Movin Chains. Our website, movinchains.com, and our podcast on Apple, Spotify, and Google. Movin the Chains brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. Jerel, anything else for Coach Bonneville before we let him go tonight?
As always, I just want to say congratulations, first of all, and you getting this opportunity to lead this team. I know you guys are going to do great things. You got a great foundation down there from Coach Summers. Really looking forward to what you guys do in the 23 season and beyond. Just great insight and stories. Really appreciate you taking the time to meet with us today and talk some high school football. This is a special state. You've seen a lot. And, I hope the viewers and the listeners get as much enjoyment out of this interview as I did.
Well, guys, I tell you what, I can't say enough. Lou Bajak does such a great job up there in the Midlands. There's some other guys that try to get stuff out, and these kids appreciate it. As a coach, I certainly appreciate it. I know y'all have busy lives, and y'all making time for these kids. And if there's anything that I can ever do to help y'all, I certainly will. I'll be more than happy to give y'all a shout out. This was awesome. I love telling those old stories. I'm that guy now, man. I'm that guy.
I love it. Well, Coach, we really do appreciate it. Look forward to getting down there and trying out some of these restaurants recommended.
Absolutely.
And head down to a practice
go.
or a game sometime.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate it, Coach, and best of luck this year, all right?
All right. Have a good one, guys.